Ninjago Season 12 Prime Empire is a very interesting season, to say the least. It is a very divisive season, and I think it's important to bring in the time this season came out in order to compare it with how the general audience feels of this season. So back in 2020, this was right after the release of Season 11, Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu, and which is one of the more hated seasons of the entire show. A lot of people have come around to it now, but it definitely is on the lower tier of Ninjago seasons to most people. Back when Season 11 aired, I was really critical of it, and pretty unfairly and blindly critical of it. Like problems that were in this season that I would absolutely destroy, but then I would ignore in other seasons with the same problems, if not worse problems. And I'd like to think that I am much more mature at that nowadays than I was back then. And I have grown to quite like Season 11 a lot more since then. In fact, the Ice chapter is one of my favorite pieces of Ninjago of all time. Now, back when Season 12 started coming out, it was definitely praised a lot for being simply better than Season 11, or at least an improvement upon Season 11. I think most people could agree that it definitely was an improvement over Season 11, but this was of course at the time when a lot of people were blindly hating on Season 11. After a while, and definitely after Master of the Mountain came out, which was an actual great season, a masterpiece of a season, if I do say so myself, a lot of people looked back on Prime Empire as, just a mediocre season, nothing outright bad, but nothing to get excited over. It's a thing of, you'll watch it, and maybe enjoy it, and that'll be about it. So, what would my thoughts be on Prime Empire if I had liked it when it came out, based on the fact that it was better than Season 11? Since I like Season 11 now, you'd expect me to like this season a lot less. Well, it's quite the opposite actually, as I firmly believe that Season 12 Prime Empire is my favorite Ninjago season of all time. That is a crazy statement, and one that I wouldn't even say a few months ago. Master of the Mountain was my favorite season for since it came out, pretty much, and I still believe that to be the best season, but my personal favorite season is now Prime Empire, and I'm tired of pretending that it's not. Before I go into the reasons why I absolutely love Prime Empire and why it brings me so much joy and why it's my favorite, I want to go over 3 common categories that come up when people complain about the season and why people think that the season is bad as a result. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong for thinking the season is bad for these 3 things. Well, for the last one I am saying you're wrong, but for the first 2 I can understand where people's problems would come in. The first one, and I think the main problem people have with the season, is no ninja development. In every other season, from seasons 1 to 11, there was some sort of development for at least one of the ninja, sometimes even multiple ninja, where their journeys progress after a season. And this is something that a lot of fans like, including myself, and it's probably one of the main reasons that we watch Ninjago, is to see these characters progress. Of course, sometimes they would de-progress, but it would still be some sort of development in a way, whether it be good or bad. But this season has none of that, which is definitely very weird for a lot of people, how this season doesn't do anything to develop any of the ninja. Especially it being a J season, you'd expect a lot of development for him since he rarely gets it, but he doesn't get too much. He gets some spotlight and some great moments and some new things we didn't really see beforehand, but he doesn't develop or progress, basically, at least as drastic as other seasons. And the same with the other ninja. And you know what? I fully understand that. I fully understand people's problem with that. And if you do not like the season because of that alone, that is perfectly valid. And, you know, I will agree with you somewhat. It would have definitely have been nice to get some sort of progression for some of the ninja, specifically for Jay. But I will go into detail on why I pretty much think that this isn't a bad thing to the season. I actually think no ninja development somewhat helps this season in a way, and I will get into that later. The second problem that people have with this season is the villain, Unagami, and to be honest, I don't really have anything else to say about it that other people haven't. I think Unagami was a pretty underused and underutilized villain in this entire season. He only really shows up properly towards the end, where we actually get to know what his actual plan is, but we don't actually get a whole lot from him beforehand, which would have been nice to develop him a lot more and make him a lot more sympathetic. But I will say what they end up doing with him is very sweet, and I do love the ending that they give him. It's a lovely, sweet ending and a lovely finale, I feel, and a very relatable one to a lot of people who were abandoned when they were younger. But I will agree with the majority and say that he should have been in the season a lot more, especially leading up to the climax. I will probably say Unagami is the worst part of the season, but I also like him a lot. So, I understand that from people. The last problem people have with this season, and this is absolutely baffling to me, the fact that I still see this take nowadays is absolutely wild, that nothing important happens or that it is a filler season. Which is so, I'm sorry if I come across as disrespectful, but if this is such a stupid take, how on earth can you say this? I would argue Prime Empire is one of the most important seasons in this era. It actually does so much for the future. So it's just a baffling take. If you still think, no, it's a filler season, nothing important happens, you can just skip it. I will say, because of this season, we have the prison breakout with all the prisoners and the mechanic and Unagami, caused by Unagami in this season, and that prison breakout leads to the prisoners being out in the city for Ronan to recruit to start his heist in the island, because these prisoners are the same prisoners that broke out as a result of the events of Prime Empire. And because of their adventure on the island, this leads to the event of Seabound, because they know where the Storm Amulet is now, and the villains get advantage of that, releasing Wojira, causing Nia to merge with the sea, which causes the ninja to grieve and to have to break Nia out and to go to prison, and for Esphira to be freed, and to later lead to the other events of Crystallized. And it also has the mechanic get beefed up in that season to where they invite him to the council in that season, and he poses as a threat to Nia later on in the season, and he helps out with the spider bombs in the fall of the monastery. So without him, the plans probably wouldn't have gone that far. Like, those two alone are massive. They get expanded on massively in future seasons. So yes, while it might seem like at the moment of Prime Empire nothing of importance happened, that is not the case at all. Even with the NPCs, like, yeah, we don't really see much of Okino after season 12, but Blazey plays a vital role in Crystallized because she was released from Prime Empire and gained the confidence that the ninja gave her confidence to be able to do what she did in Crystallized, which is able to send a message to the Shintarians in order to lead an attack onto the Overlord's army. And even some minor stuff, like that Lloyd and Avatar Harumi fight, that causes Lloyd to be off guard with how he was killed in Prime Empire at the start of the season, and we see this, and he is still on edge when they get to Shintaro, and he is reminded of the Harumi Royal Palace incident, and he again complains to Cole like he did at the start of the season, which causes Cole to still be awake when the Gecko comes up, which causes him to notice the Gecko, and it starts the whole season to kick into gear. So the minor stuff in Prime Empire actually play a massive role into every installment of Ninjago since then. And even Prime Empire as a video game is still relevant after this, with the ninja and especially Ray, Epic Gamer. And I love seeing the Prime Empire NPCs and even the gamers that were in it, be part of normal civilization. Like how we see the two cat girls still, like they're normal players, but they still keep that form, which is really valid. That's awesome. So yeah, I don't know how you can say nothing important happens in this season when it literally impacts every other installment that followed it. It also has Wu finally realize he's useless and starts his arc in Master of the Mountain. So yeah, definitely a very weak argument there. But I will not blame you if the other two reasons are why you dislike this season. Now, let's get into why I absolutely love Prime Empire. I want to talk about the side characters first, because I think this is the best part of the season according to a lot of people, and I definitely do think it is one of the strongest parts of this season that makes it stand out amongst other seasons. While the ninja don't develop this season, that means all of the crucial development that we could have gotten with them is given to other side characters instead, which I believe makes it a whole lot more interesting, as we're getting a whole new spin and perspective on all of these story arcs, and every single side character in this season is memorable in some way. I want to start with Okino, who is definitely the fan favorite and is regarded as one of the best side characters of all time, and to be honest, I have to absolutely agree there. He completely steals the show in the first half of the season with his little 4-episode arc. It's just simply incredible. Like, the episode I Am Okino is genuinely awesome. The fact that it gets hate for being filler is just beyond me, considering this episode sets up his whole arc and gives the ninja a leader in this section. So I don't know how this is filler, but you know, Ninjago community is gonna Ninjago community, I guess. I just love how it's not really a typical story and sort of goes against what a lot of the arcs were going for, basically. We were led to expect that, oh, this begins with Okino doubting his leadership skills and how he fails to be a master to the other gamers that are trying to follow in his footsteps. He keeps failing at that. So we're led to believe, oh, now that the ninja are here, he's finally going to prove that wrong, and that he can lead over these people, and that he will continue to be the best leading others after the ninja have left. But then we get this whole life-shattering event where he realizes that he's not really real. He's just part of a game. He's not real, basically. But we see him grow from that and know that that doesn't define who he is. And even when Unagami gives him the chance of becoming a real person, escaping to the real world, he denies that to help out his friends and to forge his own path. The end of his arc is just truly wonderful. He doesn't go back to training other gamers that come his way and to be better. Instead, he lets go of that role and seeks out his own adventures and goes his own way as he forges his own path now. And that is one of the only cases where a subversion of expectations works so well. And it's just a great way to handle it. He does end up coming to the real world, which is also nice, but I also love this ending that we get from him in this episode. It's extremely powerful. I love it so much. Then we have another NPC who now goes by the name of Blazey Hyperspeed. Now this one is one that a lot of people are not too fond on. They pretty much say that she is a repeat of Okino, which to an extent they are somewhat right, although she is probably a more basic version of Okino. But I don't really think so. I think Okino's story is more about forging his own path, and while you could sort of figure that out with Blazey as well, I feel like hers is mostly overcoming her own code, believing in herself, and, you know, winning the race. I actually really love Blazey. She's one of my favorite characters of all time. Yes, not just favorite side characters, but favorite characters. I think she might be my favorite side character this season, even though I believe Okino to be the better character with the better arc. Blazey just speaks out more to me. I feel like I can relate to her story a lot more than Okino's, but not to drag Okino's down. That's more to bring Blazey's up. The whole scene of the montage where she keeps failing every race is so tragic. How it's a montage, but it's not in the way most montages are. It's not happy and upbeat. It's very sad music with intense scenes of her continuously failing. Truly powerful stuff. And while many people say the ending to that is really basic, she just believes in herself and that's it, that's all she has to do to win, but I still think it's a truly powerful moment, the way they build up to it. And just getting to know her in a full episode beforehand and having her interact with Lloyd, how he gives her his trust into her, it's just so powerful, and I love that so much. And Blazey is such a great character, and despite opinions on Crystallized, I'm very happy they brought her back into that and showed that her arc did not go to waste, as she has still kept the confidence that the ninja have given her from Prime Empire. So I'm happy that they did that. That's one Crystallized W. Oh yeah, and Scott's here as well. A lot of people rag on Scott, but a lot of people also love Scott. He's a very divisive character. I'm in the middle with this. I don't think he is the absolute worst side character we've ever gotten, but he's definitely one of the weaker ones in terms of Wildbrain ever. Anyways, I feel like Wildbrain side characters are just fantastic anyways. The Wildbrain side characters are just some of my favorite characters of all time in general, like Akita, Vanya, the Upley, Benthomar, and of course Blazey and Okino. And Sally. They're all so great, and I love them all. Scott might be one of the weaker ones, but I absolutely love him still. Like, he might not have as much going on as the others, but I absolutely love his role in the shorts. I love his connection with Jay. I just think it's a very cool character. I just like his vibes, okay? I just like the vibes. He definitely does not play any role in the final episode, even though he absolutely should, since he connects a lot to Milton Dyer and Unagami, and he could have been the middle ground, like Jay, for those people, as he was affected not just by Unagami, but by Milton Dyer as well. I feel like he definitely should have been in the finale. He definitely was fit for it and was more suited for the finale. Milton Dyer isn't an NPC or a gamer, but he is an extremely good side character as well. I love how he is basically the one that saves the day just by using his words and reconnecting with Unagami, the game that he built. It's just such a sweet scene. I love that so much. And his connection to Pixal is amazing. I will get more into this later, but Pixal's role in this season with Milton Dyer is so great, and it's probably the peak of Pixal in the entire series. It's extremely powerful stuff, and I love it so much. So yeah, I absolutely love the side characters in the season, and when people say that they are the best part of the season, I don't blame them. They are absolutely fantastic, and they push the story in such a great way, and they all actually come in at the end, and they are able to be free, and some even play roles later on in the series. It's just simply great, and I really love that about the side characters of Prime Empire. But there is still more to Prime Empire that I absolutely love. When we first heard that Prime Empire would be a season based around the ninja going into a video game, a lot of people were extremely worried and automatically set it off as a bad concept and thus a bad season. But when we actually got it, the video game aspect of the season was actually one of the more liked parts of the season. They handled it extremely well, and it wasn't in a distasteful manner, and it actually worked well within the universe of Ninjago. Is it confusing and does it make no sense, or is it explained how they are able to enter this vast video game world? Does any of that make sense? No. Absolutely none of it makes any sense. But you know what? I don't care, because the way they actually pull off the video game aspect of the season is simply great, and it's just so creative, and I love it so much. Like the worlds that they go to, like the one with Okino, how it's kind of blocky and such, kind of reminds me of Minecraft and games like that. And then how the middle area is based around racing and also the dancing game, like, you know, those type of games, which is very fun, and those are some of the most memorable episodes for me based on how fun they are, especially the dancing episode. And the Speedway 5 billion racing section is just, it's just so fun. It's Ninja Ball Run, but absolutely chaotic. And then towards the end you get to the 2D platforming sections, which is awesome, and I love the subtle jokes that they play with that, and it's just a fun section. And of course the fighting section as well with Lloyd and Avatar Harumi. I love the creative spin on that and how that fight goes. Seriously great. And just the little things like the whole chart of leveling up and the experience and how you get your weapons and the money and the shop. All this, the settings, the avatars, just everything about it is so good. The mechanics and like just the worlds themselves, like the whole city world is just beautiful. This season is absolutely beautiful with how it represents video game worlds. It's just, I could gush about it for hours. It's just so good. I absolutely love the vibes of this season. A part of that is the video game settings that these episodes lean into so heavily. It's just so good and so creative. Like, that's all I really have to say about it. It's just so creative and fun, and I really am happy that they were able to go all out with all of these concepts and how none really felt like a miss or that they could have gone further. It's just all so amazing. You might be confused about this section, considering I just went over how no ninja actually fully develops in this season, but characterization is different. This is how the ninja are presented, how their characters shine this season, their good moments, and just how good their characters are overall. Because even you don't need development in order to be a good entertaining character with standout moments. If that was the case, then Jay wouldn't be a good character, or Kai wouldn't be a good character at all, because they only develop in a few seasons. But I want to just go over every ninja, because I think that the ninja characterization this season is seriously great. The way that they bounce off each other and their moments and how they not necessarily progress, but how they've shown how far they've come is just so good, and it's just so fun, and I love it so much, so I will go through all 6 of them. The first one up is Kai, and Kai has been a bit of a mixed bag ever since Season 8, according to a lot of fans. I used to have this thought process as well, until I realized I was an idiot for thinking it. Really, there's no difference between Season 1 to 7 Kai, and Seasons 8 to 15 Kai. The only difference really is that he doesn't get as much focus as he used to, but it's still pretty much the same character. A good, well-meaning person with a hot-headed temper that's cocky, but also quite stubborn, and also quite dumb, but is able to look out and care for his friends and family. That is Kai. Kai is not some serious serious character as people believed so back then. He's more of while he is serious, he is very, very dumb and funny and comic relief as well. That's always been Kai's character. But I think in Season 12 specifically, he shines a lot because his moments are just more funny, and I attribute this to the Wildbrain seasons generally being more funny than the Wilfilm seasons. That's just what I believe anyways. So that's probably why Kai shines out more for me. And while he is funny, especially with the lives thing, he's also quite serious at times as well. Like how he's so afraid to lose his last life, but when Cole is put in a dangerous situation that could lead to his death, Kai does not hesitate to jump off and save him, and that's just so powerful. As well as a minor moment with Kai refusing to leave Lloyd behind to defend Scott and all the other League of J members. That's really awesome. I like that small Kai and Lloyd moment, but I like it a lot. And Kai's sacrifice with Cole is very cool to watch for me, as you probably would know. He is not stand out necessarily in this season, but he is very enjoyable to watch. I find him very fun this season. Cole, pretty much the same story as Kai, except Cole doesn't really have any divide in the fandom. People just generally accept him in every single season, except for Season 3. But yes, he has a lot of funny moments, he's very entertaining to watch. Of course, we have the fall scene, which I just went over, and his sacrifice with Kai. But what I love about Cole in this season is how he is such a gaming fanboy. While Jay is the one that is shown to be the most experienced with the games, Cole is more smart with the games, in terms of he has more gaming knowledge in terms of history and certain games, while Jay has more gaming skills, if that makes any sense. We see him geeking out over the thought of getting an avatar. He learns the double jump, he learns all the stats, he goes into all these details. It's just so fun to watch. And of course, the dancing segment with the triple tiger sachet. Oh god, it's just so fun. I really love Cole this season. I mean, Cole is my favorite ninja, so I'm always going to have that bias towards him, but yeah, he's really great here. As well as Kai. Those two share so many scenes in this season. Next up is Nia. Nia's entertaining. She is definitely there in this season. She is with Jay for a lot of the season. And what I love about Jay in this season is how Nia is so done with Jay so many times in this season. Not in a bad way, just in a funny, like, oh god, Jay's done it again. It's just so fun to watch. I love that about their relationship. But I also love how sincere and cute their dynamic is, especially with the dancing episodes. These two really share a chemistry that no other character really shares, and they really shine in this season. Next up is Lloyd, and this is where the standout ninja start to come in my opinion. Lloyd is just fantastic in this season. Last season, he was still closed off from the events of the Oni trilogy because of Harumi and Garmadon, but because of Akita, he was learning to trust and open up again and close down these walls around him. He hasn't fully recovered, but he's made his first steps in order to recover. And this season shows his steps in order to recover from his trauma and his trust issues, as he is fully placing his trust in every NPC he encounters. With Okino, Lloyd is the main one that keeps him going and encourages him that he is trustworthy and that Lloyd places his whole trust in him the entire time. Lloyd is the one that goes out of his way to try and get Blazey to believe in herself and to trust her to join their team. Lloyd also trusts Scott. While he isn't an NPC, but he's still a shady character in a way, and Lloyd still trusts him. The fact that Lloyd trusts these characters, especially the NPCs who are literally designed by the villain they are going to fight, is so powerful and shows just how far he has come with his whole trust arc. And then you have the Avatar Harumi fight, which really messes him up, and to a degree some of his progress, which is extremely realistic. Even though he does not like Harumi, and he realizes that Harumi has ruined a lot of his life and trust issues and has traumatized him, deep down inside he still feels something for Harumi. Not necessarily the real Harumi, but the Harumi he still sees, the fake Harumi, if you will. And I love how Harumi, basically the Avatar Harumi designed by Unagami, is taking out his biggest regret, which is not being able to save Harumi, because Avatar Harumi specifically doubles down on the fact that Lloyd didn't save her, and you can tell he feels guilty about that, which is just so powerful. The PTSD and traumatizing arc that Lloyd has is just so powerful. And yeah, I'm very not happy with what Crystallize did with it, but I am happy that Crystallize expands on this with the whole scene of Lloyd going back to try and save Harumi, but it is too late, of course. Overall, Lloyd is just fantastic this season, one of his better seasons in my opinion. The fact that it shows his progress so well, while also showing his weakness in that still, and how he's still trying to hold on to any sort of love for Harumi, but it's all gone. He knows now that this Harumi was just a fake, not just Avatar Harumi, but the nice Harumi in general, and I think this is a great way to leave off the whole Harumi stuff. And next season goes back on this, which I do like, as it shows he is still a bit confused and traumatized from everything that's happened. So yeah, Lloyd is an extremely powerful character here, and I love him a lot. Next up is Zane. Now Zane is a character here that not many people were a big fan of. A lot of people were expecting a post-Ice Emperor arc for him, which I would have absolutely loved, and I will agree that not having it is very sad. But I won't take that away from Season 12, because I love Zane's detective episode. Ninjago Confidential is a standout episode, and it's just simply incredible. It's so good. It's so funny. I love the style of it, and Zane's relationship with Pixal is so endearing to watch. How Pixel is just fed up with Zane the whole time, and Zane is just kind of going along with it still, which causes Pixel to get more mad, but Pixel ends up going with it when Zane eventually gets captured, which leads her to find Dyer. It's just so funny, and his lines in the episodes are just so fantastic. This is the first time Zane has felt like an actual character in years, and not just a smart robot character. And I love that they brought back his weird sign like in Season 1 with the whole detective stuff. So yeah, Zane is handled wonderfully in this season. Not maybe the whole season, but in these episodes, these last episodes, God, he is so fun to watch. I love it. Last ninja is of course Jay, the focus ninja of the season. It is disappointing that he didn't develop, but I will argue that Jay is very entertaining in this season. With the whole game knowledge stuff, the League of Jay, his relationship with Scott, I do really like Jay here. But I also like how serious he gets the more the game goes on. At the beginning of the season, he's basically in his dream world. He thinks everything is perfect now. He's found something he absolutely loves, and he is not really taking anything seriously at all. But then the more people that die, the less of a dream world this seems like to him, and the more serious he gets. Like when Scott dies, he has a moment of disbelief. When Kai and Cole die, he sort of takes up a leadership with Lloyd and Nia. And then when Lloyd dies, he seems extremely bitter. But when Nia dies, it's all over, and he is absolutely raging towards Unagami. And I love this shift so much. I love how it shows the shift of Jay basically losing that whole love he had for inside of the game world, and how the real world is actually starting to come into his mind now, which I think is really powerful. His last scene with Unagami is simply fantastic. One of his best scenes in the entire series, how he's able to relate to Unagami with fears with his abandonment, but how Jay puts in the classic positive thinking aspect about how he always hoped that there is a good reason, and what if there's a good reason. And I am so happy that this is where they leave off the whole Jay adopted parents aspect of him. Because a lot of people want to know what happened to Jay's biological parents, and I get that, I totally get that. It would be cool if we did find out what happened to them. But I just don't think it would serve the story anything. In fact, I think it would make it a little bit weaker if Jay ever found out what happened to them. Because the whole point of Jay's character is that he is positive, right? He is a positive thinker. And him positively thinking that there was a good reason and that be the end of it is good. And also for the fact that he has his real parents, Ed and Edna, and he's extremely happy with them. And he wouldn't change those parents for the world. He wouldn't ever think of that. He knows he's adopted, but he knows that his true parents are his adopted parents. And yeah, he might think about it at times, but he always knows that there could have been a good reason, and of course, he knows who his true parents are. And I think that makes him a lot more relatable, as not a lot of adopted children ever find out what happened to their biological parents, or even want to find out, which I think makes Jay a lot more interesting and a lot more relatable to those kids, which is why I think tampering with that would sort of damage it in a way, but it could also open him up to relate to other kids, so there's also that. But I'm extremely happy of where they leave it off here. Do I wish they expanded it more with Unagami? Oh, absolutely. But what we got, I think, is very sweet and comes from the heart and is a great way to handle his whole abandonment issues. But I want to point out something really small here, and actually that Jay parallels every NPC in this season. Not just Unagami, but Okino and Blazey as well. Okino learns a big truth about himself and doesn't know what to do, and he keeps getting influenced by a bad influence that after this news, and he just doesn't know what to do, but he tries to forget about that and dismiss that influence on him entirely. This is very similar to Jay when he found horrible news that he was abandoned and adopted, and the influence was not a con, and that was a bad influence for him, and it kept messing with his mind, but afterwards he dismissed that influence and stood up to him and saved Ninjago. So yeah, and then with Blazey kept trying to win the race over and over and over again, keep failing at what her hobby, continuously failing until she finally believed in herself and she managed to win the race. What about when Jay kept trying to make his inventions work, but he kept failing and failing and failing until years later where he's able to put his biggest invention to the test, and it ends up freeing him and the other ninja from the dragon pit. Is it intentional? Of course not, but I find that really cool how all the NPCs of Prime Empire parallel Jay. It almost feels like Prime Empire goes into the subconsciousness of Jay, which I think is really, really powerful, and why I believe Prime Empire is one of Jay's best seasons and does do him justice. But Jay is not my favorite main character in this season. And it's not even Zane. In fact, it's not even Lloyd, despite the fact that I believe Lloyd is standout. My favorite main character of this season, the MVP of this season, is Pixal. She is simply fantastic this season. And most of that comes from the last 4 episodes. But one that I want to bring the most attention to is the prodigal father. This is a fantastic episode simply because of Pixal's dynamic with Milton Dyer. How Milton Dyer he believes that Unagami is just a computer, he's just a program, he's just an AI, he doesn't have feelings, he doesn't have emotions, he can't care, he's not human. And Pixal is the one to change his mind on everything. Pixal is the one to make him believe that, oh wow, robots and AI do have emotions, they can care, they have feelings, they are real, they are like humans. Pixal is the one that makes him believe that. And that is so impactful because that is what Zane taught Pixal all those years ago. Pixal was very similar to Dyer in season 3. Pixal believed that she was not human, she didn't have feelings, she didn't have emotions, she was just a robot, that was it. Nothing else about her. And it was Zane that was the one that was able to bring out her true emotions and her true feelings. And she was able to become, well, real because of that, after she realized all that. And for her to pass that on to Milton Dyer is so powerful, and in the end Milton Dyer ends up bringing that back onto Unagami, which ends up saving all of Ninjago. It's so powerful, and it wouldn't have, that whole ending wouldn't be possible without Pixal. You might think that's very minor, but I think that's seriously big and shows how much Pixal has come as a character, and I do love her little moments throughout the episodes, especially in Ninjago Confidential. Pixal is just one of my favorite characters of all time in general, so to get this from her was just simply great. She is the best in this season in my opinion, and The Prodigal Father is a standout episode. All Ninja and Pixal are fantastic in this season. I think their characterization is fabulous, and even if they don't necessarily develop, they show their progression throughout the series, they show how far they've come, or they're super entertaining and bring back some old charm that they used to have. And that's why I believe Prime Empire is one of the best seasons when it comes to Ninja characterization. But there's still more.
That's it! The gate is open! We are ready for Unagami to enter Ninjago!
Of course, I had to give the mechanic his own tiny section in this. I love the mechanic, and he is honestly one of my favorite, if not my most favorite villain of the entire series. He is definitely up there for sure, and the reason for that is, well, this season really. The mechanic started out as just a nothing guy, just a low-level thug, like a 5th tier, 4th tier bad guy, as Cole put it. He was just a regular criminal, basically. And then he made a brief appearance in Season 8, and Season 11 as well, and Season 11 did more with him in that episode, and that episode is really enjoyable. I like his characterization a lot. But it wasn't until Season 12 until this guy became a serious threat to the ninja with his whole plan with Unagami. He was actually putting up a fair challenge to the ninja, and the ninja were very worried as a result. And he did succeed in his plans, had Unagami not been turned by Jay and Milton Dyer. He is just seriously such a great villain, because he literally just does it for the enjoyment. He doesn't have this big master plan or big motivation. He's just doing it because he has fun doing it. He's just a fun, goofy guy that loves to mess around, and I absolutely love that. He is also just extremely goofy, and I love that. Like, his truck, his crime noodle truck, is simply incredible. This guy with a bowler hat with a mechanical arm and this cyborg eye thing with this trench coat that has a noodle crime truck. Like, how can you not love this guy? And his voice is great as well, which really goes with his goofy side. I like how in Season 6 he kind of tries to act threatening and like cold and mysterious. But then in Season 12, when he's fully embracing his evil, his true evil self, he's just completely goofy and silly, and he's just enjoying it so much. It's so good. And I love how he is one of the only villains that they actually show going up the ranks. With most villains in Ninjago, they just already have power as soon as you see them. You never see their goal towards power or their journey to get to where they are. With the mechanic, we see it. We see him go from a low-level thug to the master villain of the season. And one other thing I love about Crystallized is that they continue this perfectly with having him on the Council of the Crystal King, the Overlord's Council, his second-in-command council. It's so good to see how far this guy has come over the years. I won't say his characterization is great in Crystallized Part 2, but I absolutely loved what they did with him in terms of inviting him to the council, and I think wraps up his story really well. I just love it so much. One last thing about the mechanic is that he's not only funny and goofy and silly and just entertaining to watch, but the one short that focuses on him is genuinely it makes you relate to him or feel for him, where he wants to feel things, he wants to have another arm. And I find that very intriguing, and it's just real. It adds a bit more realism to him and a bit more of a relatability aspect to him. The fact that, he doesn't have an arm, he's disabled, but he doesn't let that get to him. But it's just so nice to see that, and it's really sweet. But yeah, the mechanic is awesome. and I love his lines, especially Zane the Pain. This guy is so awesome. So I've gone over a lot of stuff in this season that makes me love this season so much. But what is the main reason that I love this season and believe it to be my favorite season of the entire show? And that main reason is lava.
Wow, he's got a lot of hats. Yeah, who would have thought a guy super into stealing things would have too much stuff?
Harder than expected, but I'm almost done customizing my avatar. What? You haven't even started the game yet? And he's all about confidence. Gotta look cool when I'm fighting.
What? Why didn't anyone tell me this?
I tried, but you wouldn't listen.
Oh, sure, blame the victim.
Gotcha!
Yeah, nice!
Yes! Lead with your hips, and 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Why did I choose to ride on the back of a jet?
Look out, Cole! Wrecking ball!
Good luck, Jake. Not today! Hold on!
Nah, I'm just messing. But I do absolutely love lava, and I'm not saying it's canon. I'm just trying to say that it's cool how many moments they have. Okay, they just make me happy. Okay, I just wanted to make that joke. But anyways, the real main reason on why Prime Empire Season 12 is my favorite season of the entire series is because it's just fun. It's just so fun, and it has a lot of heart. It's simple as that. It's just a really, really entertaining and fun season. Whenever I'm feeling down or I just want something to make me happy, I will automatically go to watch this season. Yep, that's right. That's the first thing I will think of to do. This season never fails to make me happy or smile or laugh or just feel good. It's just a really, really good, fun, nice comfort season for me. I love all the side characters. I love all the characters in general. I love the ninja. It's so funny. It's just fun. It's great to watch. The action and everything is at an all-time high. The soundtrack is just beautiful. The emotions hit hard, and the messages are so nice, and they hit hard, and they have meaning. They come from the heart. I love all the messages in this season, and it's a very nice and uplifting season. And when this season came out, it was around the time where things weren't very good. So this season definitely helped a lot of people out. Especially for us Ninjago fans, of course. No matter what you, of course, think of the season, I don't think you can deny that it didn't at least make you a little bit more happier in those bad times. This season, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, it's just such a fun season. I love almost everything about it, but I am able to acknowledge the flaws and the weaknesses that this season has. But I don't let them affect me too much, because I love the season so much that I'm able to ignore some of the faults that it has. But even I think that there's not too much wrong with what the season does, and most problems come from what the season doesn't do. So in that case, I think this season does an insanely almost perfect job at what it sets out to do. And that, you know, again, whenever I watch it, I just feel so happy. You know? I just can't say anything else other than that. It's just a fun, entertaining season. And, you know, I genuinely think that out of all the seasons, it makes me the most happiest. I feel the best after watching it. And I genuinely think that this has almost no flaws for me personally. Like, no bad stuff is in the season for me personally. Like, just me. And with all that in mind, all the fun stuff, the funky stuff in the season, the silly, goofy stuff I love, the side characters, the ninja, absolutely everything, animation, soundtrack, with all of that out there, it is safe to say, for me, that Ninjago Season 12 Prime Empire is my all-time favorite Ninjago season of all time. Well, that was a very long video. I just want to thank you all, whoever stuck to the end, all 3 of you for watching this video. I know I haven't done a lot in the last year or 2, even though I said I would, but this year I want to try and do more videos, at least more than I did last year, of me just talking about these stupid dumb Lego Ninja, and of course maybe a few other things. But yeah, that is it for this video on Prime Empire. I eventually do want to have a look at every single Ninjago season, so if you want one that you want done sooner rather than later, just let me know down below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And also a special thanks to candydragonx for this new avatar and all the art she's made for me. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Go follow her on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. She's awesome. Her art is amazing. And yeah. So thank you so much everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.